Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice. So today we're going to have a special program that we'll do from time to time, but I'm going to combine it today. And today we're going to have a special Ask a Kingdom Business Coach feature. I understand that Pastor Mitchell showed up. Okay, just have Pastor Mitchell join us quickly. So we'll make a little shift here. Pastor Michaux, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Patrice.
Yes, so we'll go back to our original programming. We couldn't hear from you, sir, so we thought that you weren't going to be able to make it. So we have,
going through my system, and
it takes a little time. I understand. All right, so we are going to scrap Ask the Coach, and so we'll bring that back up at another time because Pastor Mitchell is here. And so today we're going to talk about the biblical entrepreneurship impact in Ottawa with Pastor Mitchell. And so Pastor Mitchell has become a dear friend, actually, by way of Pastor Manuela, and he's a senior pastor of a growing, vibrant church in Ottawa, Canada. He has an apostolic heart and grace and anointing. Because you'll hear why I say that, because he's not only he's actually the head pastor, but not the teaching pastor of that church. Now, you'll understand what I mean by that. So he's planted a church. He's brought on another pastor who runs the church, and he pretty much oversees it more an apostolic standpoint. And he's planting other churches throughout Canada. Of course, COVID-19 has not been kind to churches, and we're going to talk about how he's navigated through that. And then we're going to get into to the BE impact in Ottawa, Canada. He has a competitor, somebody who this year is representing North America at the Nehemiah Week Business Plan Competition. We'll talk about that. And then you'll get to know a guy who's doing some tremendous thing out of Canada. So Pastor Michaux, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so blessed to be connecting today.
Awesome. Well, Pastor Michaux, tell him a bit about your ministry and kind of your journey. You were you worked for government of Canada, and then from there God called you, and now you're retired from government. And you're doing as a full-time pastor. Tell us about that journey, what you did, and what led you to come into this hard work of pastor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again. And what I can say is that I was born and raised in Africa, where I had the opportunity to study law at University of Kinshasa, which is the main city in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And I left many years ago, my country, my hometown, and I went to Europe. And finally, I came to Canada 22 or 23 years ago. And when I got here, I met a man who has become my spiritual father, Dr. Eugene May, who is a prophet. He lives around Tampa, Florida. And at that time, he was living in Nashville, Tennessee. And he spoke over my life and my wife's life. And that how things shifted at that time in my plan, because I had a plan to continue my study in law and maybe go back in Congo and teach law in the same university where I graduated many years ago. And then from that point, I joined a church here with my pastor at that time, Reverend Harold Sowerby. And I started working under his leadership. But I was questioning myself about that prophetic word that I will preach and serve God. I wasn't comfortable. It seems like something too much away from my original plan when I got in North America. And so I started serving God, and 12 years after that prophetic word, then I started this church and with my wife and a few people around us. People start coming and joining. And but before I started church, I got that job with the Ministry of Health here with the government of Canada. And so I started a church, and God was so kind and graceful with us that the church grew till the point where I needed more people in leadership. And we started a second one 1 year ago or so, and we are planting a third one in Sudbury, north of Ontario. The second one is in Vaudreuil-Dorion in the province of Quebec, between Ottawa and Montreal. So then my responsibility with the church kept on becoming more important. So I decided, as my collective agreement allows me to do with the government of Canada, so I decided to go on leave without pay. It allows you to go for maximum for 5 years, and at the end of that period, you decide if you want to resign or stay. So it allowed me to just focus on the church for now. And also my wife start praying, because she was working for national defense with the government of Canada too, and she prayed that they will allow her to retire prematurely. They did, so she can focus on her own business and helping me with the church too at some point with women's ministry. Actually, she's graduating from the last B class, on August. So she wanted to learn more how to manage her event planning business. So that a little story around the ministry and what we are doing here in Ottawa.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Again, we're talking to Pastor Michaux, the pastor of a growing church out in Ottawa. He's also the director for the NEMA project in Canada, and a certified bee trainer as well. What an interesting story. By the way, his wife is graduating. Your wife, by the way, your wife is smart. I mean, she's just sharp. And for those who are watching and listening, we're going to be doing the Canada Business Plan Competition August, I believe August 31st, or the last Saturday of August. You're all invited to come and hear these business plans present. And the First Lady will be competing that day. She has a good chat at it. She's very sharp. So, Pastor, interesting journey. So you start out wanting to be an attorney, and then somehow the Lord arrests your path. Many of our listeners and viewers may be wondering, okay, how did you know, right? Because many of us, as we begin a journey for a career or education, we have a goal, we have a set. Well, how do you know when God redirects? And how did you know? Could you speak a bit of that? Because somebody may be listening and watching, and they're wondering, can you guys hear me? Okay. Some of you listening and watching, and they're wondering themselves, how do I know when that occurred? Could you speak to that a little bit? How did you know that the Lord was directing from being a lawyer to being a pastor?
It might be different from each of us, and but in my case, to speak about myself, when I was young, I started feeling like I needed to serve God. I was so young. I was around maybe 7 or 8. I cannot explain how and why. I'll tell my parents that I wanted to serve God. I wanted to be a servant of God. And at that time, I was even thinking that I would be a single serving God. You know, I'm sure my wife won't agree with me today, but I was kind of telling my parents that I wanted to serve God. But later on, I shifted from that desire of serving God to focusing on having my career as a lawyer and maybe a professor of law at university level. And I started thinking maybe that was just the young boy I was. I wanted to serve. I got involved in some kind of church activity around age of 12, 13, 14, around that time. But when I got before I get here, I joined a church in Congo. When I got baptized, I started joining Bible studies classes and things like that. But after that, I left the country, and long story short, I got in Ottawa, and then I met my spiritual father from US, Prophet Eugene May. So and I received a kind of detailed prophetic word. It was so challenging for me, so detailed. Then he brought me back to that dream I had as a young boy, that I would like to serve God. So when I heard that prophetic word, I start questioning myself. Is it from God? Am I ready to do that? Do I have the requirements, the gifting, and the qualification? I didn't feel like I did. And 2 years later, my spiritual father will come back in town here in Ottawa, and he gonna speak to me. At that time, we didn't have the connection we have today. So I was there during the meeting, and he called me again and start answering my questions. The question I had 2 years, during 2 years period of time, in that prophetic word again, he will answer those questions. You're questioning yourself, you're doing this, you're doing that, doing this, you're doing that. And 2 weeks after that, I found myself preaching the gospel. I was preaching a little bit with my pastor at that time, but I started preaching more regularly, and it became intense. And during a time of prayer and fasting, so then I asked God to confirm that word with myself. And I went for 3 days, 3 days without food and drink, day and night. And the last night of that time of fasting and prayer, then I got a vision where I got an answer that I was called to teach the word of God. And after that, I was pretty much convinced now. I had the prophetic word, and I spent time in prayer, where my leadership at that time, they asked us, each of us, to go and pray and ask God to tell us exactly what is our calling and what God wants us to do. So, and I was very stressed. The first day, nothing. The second day, nothing. And the last night, as I prayed and cried before God, that I want to know. I had the prophetic word, but I need a confirmation. And in that vision, I see a man of God coming to me and telling, for you, this is what the Lord is saying. And when I woke up from that vision, I start thanking God. Then I had that conviction in my heart. I received the confirmation in my spirit, and I had also the prophetic word. Even though it can be different from people to people, sometimes you won't have a clear prophetic word, but you can have that small still voice of God in your spirit telling you in in what exactly God is calling you for your life, and give you a vision of your life. So from that point, I had a vision of my life, and I start telling my wife, please remind me every time you see me going straight, remind me that God has confirmed that this is what I'm going to do. So instead of continue studying law as I was planning to do, I shifted to Bible studies, and so I'm still learning, from different kind of settings, and I still a student of the Bible, studying the Bible and preaching at the same time, and I bless God for that.
Wow, what an incredible story. What I like about your story is that it seems that the Lord spoke to you when you were young, and then you walked away from it. You didn't do anything with it. And then as an adult, a young adult, God used somebody else to speak to you. That
Exactly.
validated what you heard from God before, and that kind of began to work it out. So then from there, now my question, how did your wife feel about this? At that point, when you married, how did she feel about marrying somebody who she didn't think was a pastor, and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing that shift?
Yeah. So, and because I met my wife when I was young, we met in Africa, of course, and she left. We Our relationship ended. We were too young. She was just a friend, and the relationship ended. And she came here to study, and I stayed home and finished my law school, and I flew to Belgium in Europe. I lived a little bit between Belgium and France, and I left there, and I came here. And when we decided to resume, if I can use that word, our relationship, and so I at that time I met the Lord, and I was born again, and I started sharing the gospel with my friend at that time, and 20 some years ago, she decided to also to give her life to Christ in Montreal, and she got baptized. And uh, at that point, we didn't know that ministry was part of our plan. So we start just living together. But at early stage of our marriage, and then we receive a man of God from Switzerland, an apostle from Switzerland, a man who had a tremendous testimony about healing in his own life from an accident that left him without face. They had to do surgery to try to give him back a sense of face. So he had a tremendous testimony, and that man of God, René Vier, prayed for us so that we can receive the baptism of the Holy Ghost. And so my wife kind of start being open to serving God, myself too, but we didn't have that calling clearly. And thank God, when my spiritual father came and to pray for me, he also prayed for my wife, and also spoke to my wife and told my wife that she will be called also to serve God. So it kind of helped our couple to be open to that idea. The other thing I think it was that at the beginning of our marriage, we had a lot of problem. We had a lot of issue in order to really communicate properly, had the same vision for our lives, and things like that. And because of that, I think my wife didn't want to fight that idea, because we had a lot on our in our plates at that time. And but at some point, she she became very involved in our church, not the church we planted, but in the church where we were serving at that time. And from that point, she became more open to that idea, and she started supporting me, not pushing me, but supporting me to just prepare myself for ministry. And in 2012, after having served God for 12 years under other people's leadership, then I discussed with her the idea of finally launching the church and do what God asked us to do. And she was open to the idea. It was kind of stressful a little bit because we knew that ministry could be challenging, but we were so involved, traveling, preaching, and so we were kind of prepared to the idea of doing ministry the way we are doing it today.
Wow. Again, we're talking to Pastor Michaux, pastor from Canada, Ottawa, Canada. Mm-hmm. And Pastor, the church name is Sena. Yeah. And again, friends, feel free to ask questions or make comments. Again, Pastor Michaux has a competitor who will be competing at the Nehemiah Week International Business Plan Competition, representing North America, but from his church, from Canada. If you've not yet registered for Nehemiah Week, go to nehemiahweek.com, and register so you can be a part of these activities. Your church name is Sena. So first, what does Sena stand for? Mm-hmm. And second, your church has grown tremendously. You've had tremendous favor, your own building. So that is in itself kind of was a miraculous situation. So tell us about what the church means and kind of the favor the church has had in this growth. You have a lot of young people. It's just an incredibly dynamic church.
Mm-hmm. So in French, Sena means Centre Évangélique Nouvelle Alliance. So New Alliance Evangelical Center. So, and that's the name because when we are praying, ask God to give us, a vision of the church and the name, and we felt strongly that God wanted us to stress the fact that we are now in a new covenant, after the cross, because of course we know that God, created man, and man was lost, and He called a man Abraham, and through Abraham He brought Christ in the flesh in this world, and Christ died for us. But before Christ died for us, God gave the law through Moses to Israel. And when Christ died for us, we were introduced to that new covenant with God based on the blood of the Lamb and the sacrifice that Jesus Christ did for us on the cross. So then we wanted to focus on that aspect of the gospel, that we are living now in a new covenant, and that someone did something tremendous for us so that we can be reconciled with God. And so then we decided to call the church Centre Évangélique Nouvelle Alliance, which means New Alliance Evangelical Center, or New Covenant Evangelical Center, we should say that, but we call it like that way. So that's why we have the short form of that name, the acronym Sena, and the church is more known under the name of Sena than Centre Évangélique Nouvelle Alliance. And when we studied in a gym, in a elementary school. My wife and my 3 kids and my sister-in-law. That was the first meeting, and we prayed. Prayed and I preached, and that was the first meeting. And after that, people started joining, and we moved from that place, and we went to rent a small room from another church of Pastor Jean Turpin someone who is like a father to me to be here in Ottawa, and a good man of God. And we stayed there for a year or so, and we moved from there, and we rent another place. And after many 1 year and a half again, the daughter of our landlord decided to kick us out of that place, and we found another place where the church started really growing, and we signed for 5 years lease. And but after 3 years, we had an opportunity that the building was about to go on sale. They were about to put that on the market. We didn't have money, and we didn't have a clear plan. We were thinking about just opening an account where we're going to put some money aside if we can, so that we can have a project in the future to buy a place, because we were moving like after it, we almost after 15 to 18 months, the church had to move. So we couldn't build a good momentum. Sometimes when you move like that, you lose people who were living around where the church was meeting. So then I said to my leadership team that we need a plan. We need a plan. And so we were about to open that account and start putting money aside. Then we had the opportunity that the building was about to go on the market for sale. So, and the people we hired 3 years ago to try to find a good place for us, they couldn't find a place, and they called my wife, and my wife asked me to go and see the place. We went there, we see the place. I called a meeting with my pastoral team, and I said to them, there's a place that is about to go on the market. It's not yet on the market, but I think it was on a Monday, and the place was about to go on market on Thursday. So we had a very short time to decide, and I got their support. They say go ahead, but sign a conditional offer, because we cannot sign an offer now, because we didn't have the financing ready. So and I signed, and I said to them, I'm going to sign an offer, but it be conditional to me getting the financing ready for you guys. But also on the other end, the seller said that there's a condition also, that if the church buys the place, we won't be able to move before 8 months. So we say that was God, because we weren't ready financially, and they're giving us 8 months. So we start raising money during that period of 8 months, and we weren't ready to have the down payment. It was around $500,000 dollars. So we were very short, and so I received another call from the seller saying that, what about if we give them 2 more months, so that, because they were selling the place, downsizing, and they needed a small place to get the non-for-profit organization going. So they asked me for 2 months. I was like, hey, if you want, I can give you that 2 months. But inside me, I was like, oh, thank you, God, because, and it allowed me to try to find a way to get the money we needed. And at the end of that 10-month period, we had the down payment, and people were ready to support the project. We sold the vision to them, and they also were witnesses of the fact that the church was growing. We're gonna have a small place, and God will be so kind, so graceful that you're gonna feed that place. People start standing, attending the church, and we didn't have the seating for them. and we're gonna move to another place, and it's gonna grow, and we have problem to have seat for people, and we grow to the third place. It was at the beginning, it was a big place, but by the time we're moving there, people will if you come late, then you'll be standing, So people saw that. I think God used those instances of growth in order to convince people to support the project. I think if they didn't see that, maybe they could be doubtful about supporting the project. I think God was so strategic in order to allow us to go through that period of growth, so that people can say, yes, I think we need that place. We need that place. And we moved to the place where we are. And so God helped us to lock the deal, $1,625,000. So then we were about to have that deal, and we started seating people, comfortably, and we start filling the place too. And before the confinement with this sanitary crisis, we were planning to have another service because we started having parking issue, things like that. So then, COVID came. So we were so mad that COVID came, because it just came where the church will start growing in that new place, to the place where people start asking maybe another service. But we thank God for everything. God is in control, and we are praying that after this crisis, then we'll see how God will continue supporting the church at that level.
Wow, what an incredible story. Pastor, have you been surprised at the growth of the church?
Yeah. I think my wife and I were so surprised, because I've been living in this area of 22, 23 years now. I was thinking of leaving Ottawa and going in a small city somewhere between Ottawa and Montreal. I was about moving my family and go there, and in my mind, I was thinking about launching a small church, because it's a small kind of town, and I wasn't expecting many people to join, and I was preparing myself to lead like a church that could have like 50 or 60 people attending the church on a regular basis. So then when finally we decided to stay in this region, so I kind of had that in my heart, that it's gonna be a young church, it's gonna be a small church. I had young people joining. Some of them were in high school, some of them in college and university, and so I was preparing myself for what I would call normal growth, and I was surprised to the point that I start putting people in position before even I had the opportunity to train them, because we started doing the service, my wife and I. My first daughter was 12 at that time. There's not much she could do, and she started serving an usher. And my second daughter was about 7 or 8, and my boy was 4. So my in-law started helping too, but we didn't have time to train people, so we start doing it very quickly. and we're going to ask people to help in the same time we were trying to train them, and because we felt like we weren't prepared enough to handle the growth. Yeah, we were surprised.
Wow, I mean, it's just an incredible story. As a young man, God speaks to you, and very clearly you kind of walk away from it, pursuing something else. He brings a prophet, speaks to you, you obey, and then you have these fruits. And I'm sure for you, I've been to your church, by the way, great location. When you look at the lives and the families that God is impacting through your wife and you, don't you thank God you obeyed?
Uh, I I think I do, and my wife will agree with me that we didn't think that uh, when, especially myself, when I got here in North America, I didn't think that I will go through what I went through, and we are very thankful to God that He allows us to witness what He did and He's doing, especially to the next generation of young leaders we are raising now. And some of them, we got them baptized, and we married them, blessed their wedding, and we start now, praying for the babies, presenting their babies to the Lord. So we are really, really, really thankful that God supported us to the point where we will obey. Sometimes it was challenging. Sometimes it was we could be anxious about what's going to happen. How we're going to do with our family. How the church will go. And we were so concerned at some point about ministry and the aspect of it. But when we look back, we thank God because not only because the church grew, and not only because we were able to find a place, and start now trying to launch those young leaders so they can have their own churches and pastor those churches. But we thank God mostly because of the impact we saw in people's life, which becomes an impact in our own life, to see that God could use our weakness to bless people. And when we see those young people maturing in God, establishing families, and some of them going back to school, like Eddie, who dropped school he was in high school and left his parents, living with friends. We managed to send him back to his parent place, send him back to adult elementary high school, and now he's trying to do his best to graduate from university. He graduated from a college, but he decided to continue university doing, business management, and that's why he like Nehemiah, and he's now the person is supporting Nehemiah here in Ottawa, coordinating the BE class, and he's one of the young men that we like to bless God for his life. So that's something that really is very touchy to us, that God will go through people like us. We were at some point we had the feeling that we failed. We failed in our marriage. We had that feeling that we didn't really we weren't confident that our life here in North America will mean anything. So then at that time, in that period of confusion, and questioning. I was about to go back in Europe. I was thinking maybe one day go back in Congo and have my law office and maybe do other stuff. And in that time, God spoke to us. So that's why it's very important to trust God even in time of confusion, because we can be confused, but God is not. So He can help us, and that's exactly what He did.
Wow. Wow. Lawyer turned really government worker turned pastor. That's an incredible story. I love it. There's no, we can be confused, but God is not. Again, we're talking to Pastor Michaux, the senior pastor and founder of Senate Church in Ottawa. Pastor, then you made a decision to bring biblical entrepreneurship into your church, into your mix. Our friend Pastor Noah, who's the BE evangelist, like you, he has the grace on his life, on everything he touches grows. So to tell us a bit about that decision and the impact you felt so far with BE being part of your church, your ministry.
Thank you for that question. And Pastor Noela has become a brother to me. He's a good friend. I love him very much. He's a good man of God, man of integrity, very kind. And his wife is a cousin to my wife. And so I preach for him a lot, and he does the same, even more for me. And he opened doors for me, and I bless God for his life and using him in that capacity. And at some point, I was in France, and he started talking to me about Nehemiah, and he will travel to US, and I will call him and say, "Oh, I'm somewhere in the state of Washington. I'm in Orlando and things like that. We're having Nehemiah week." And he started pushing me, say, "I want you to join. I want you to see if you can do something with the BE training," because he knew that I was planning maybe to leave my career in the public sector here in Canada with the government of Canada. And I was planning with my wife maybe to have our own private business so that we can support our family. And we booked a trip to, I think it was Orlando or Washington.
Yeah.
One of those places you guys were having Nehemiah week, but finally we got a conflict in our schedule. We couldn't attend, and so then we met. I had the opportunity to meet you, Patrice, in Paris, and we spoke a little bit about that. And so finally we decided to have a free seminary here in Ottawa. We opened that to our people in the church because we do believe that people can learn how to do business with God and to do it in a way that they are not afraid of doing it, and to do it in a way that they honor kingdom's principles in business. Also to do it in a way that they represent Christ in the marketplace. They can do it differently and bless people and touch people and bless the kingdom of God. And also we start thinking in the church that if we have a lot of people that can be free in the sense of having control of their own life and their own finances, they can be more if ready, I would say, to support the ministry. So I think we are not doing that so that people can really support the church, but we think that if people are blessed in their own life, and if people who has vision of doing business, but that are afraid of doing it, because some people, they think that because of the worldly way of doing business, because of the secular way of doing business. Many Christians, they are afraid to do business because they think that business means you have to cheat, you have to screw people up, and you have to do those things. But when I realized that Nehemiah project is bringing a biblical way of doing business, then I say to myself, maybe it's a good tool to give to some people in our church, in our area, where they can learn how to do business a kingdom way, and be a blessing to God, be a blessing to the churches, the local churches, and be a blessing to the community and their own family. So then we opened our first B class, and it went well. It was our first experience. Actually, we did that with the headquarters and Pastor Manuela, and so we try the second class, that is the students from that class are graduating on August 29th, and so it was a good experience too. And so we start spreading a little bit the message around, and see how we can have the next class. And we see people now starting believing in their vision, believing in their project, and getting ready to start their own business. Many of the people I know, they would like to do that, but they don't know how. They don't know how they can get there. But many people I know, they are not. They are blessed to have a job where they can go and do that what they have to do and get a paycheck. But I know also many people that they would like to work for themselves and for the kingdom of God, and work towards that place of freedom, where you are free to serve God with what God is giving you, and to bless the kingdom of God.
Wow, that's incredible. So you have this young gal, Manuela, who's a member of your church. As a matter of fact, she actually didn't want, she actually almost quit the class because she didn't have an idea. And Pastor Noella encouraged her to stick around and see if God may speak to her. Well, God did. God gave her this idea of a daycare service. And I was amazed at how well she did. And she ended up coming in second place in the competition. And now, because the first place winner is not available, she gets to be first place. So first, are you surprised? I mean, you've known her. Are you surprised that this unlikely person is now actually representing North America at the International Business Playing Competition?
Actually, I am. I'm very surprised. You would ask me this question like before the first class. I would have told you that Manuela is not the person you're gonna see in any B class, and not to speak about having her representing North America. This is just a miracle. I have known her for years now, before this church, before Sana.
Wow.
And she's a very, 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 very kind young mother of 5 now, and she's a good person. She's the one who manages the finances of the church. She's in charge of the finances of the church.
Wow.
So she works with our accountant, a private accountant who is not part of the church, but the accountant is the one who's gonna work with her in order to verify everything financially. So she's kind of she's introvert, so she's very shy sometimes. very quiet, and but that's why she wanted to quit that the class. And I thank God for Pastor Noela, who supported her, and we spoke to you about her case. And I was so amazed that she was among people who actually did good with the competition, and now she's representing North America. I spoke to her and I say, hey, you know, you didn't expect yourself to be there. I didn't expect you to be there. Nobody did. So just go and relax, and you know, be part of it. You know, yeah. So it's like you know, Yahoo. There you are. So it's really a surprise. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, so we're going to have 4 competitors from different parts of the world. We have somebody from Malaysia who represents Asia. We have somebody from Africa, from Kenya, sorry, who represents Africa, and then someone from Mexico who represents Latin America. And then because the United States didn't have a contender, automatically the next person, which in this case, Manuela, represents North America. If we had had a contender, she would have competed with the United States. And so truly it's God. So every contender will receive $1,000 just for showing up because they're coming in their country. And then the first place person received $5,000. The second place received $3,000, and the third place received $2,000. And it'll be net minus 20% because 20% goes to the region of the country. So essentially, this is what they are for. And then if they win the competition, they get to be invited back the following year, all expense paid, to be the speakers for the 2022. And I'm 21, sorry, International Business Plan Competition, which is right now still to be in Mexico, God willing, if COVID-19 does not disturb us. So if Manuela wins, we're going to fly her to Mexico next year to speak at the International Business Plan Competition with all expense covered, including her hotel and her travel. And then she will also receive $5,000 minus 20%. And then she will take that trophy. That's the key. Canada won one time before, several years ago. Who knows? This may be the year that Canada wins it again. Except at that time, it was Vancouver, Canada. This time it is Ottawa, Canada, which is French. Actually, Ottawa is the capital, so French and English. And then Vancouver is mainly French. So that's what's at stake. So if you've not yet registered for Nehemiah Week, go to nehemiahweek.com, nehemiah.com. You can join and be a part. On top of the winning prize, we're going to have what we're calling the People's Choice. This is where the audience get to vote for who they think has the best plan. And that one is purely the audience. It doesn't count towards the final choices because the judges get to choose. But it does count for cash prize. So the competitor who wins the People's Choice get an additional $1,000 for the People's Choice. Of course, that means if you're listening or watching and you are from Canada, you want to come and support the Canada person because, of course, everybody's going to vote based on their country. And those who do not have someone from their country, they'll vote for the better person. So we wish Manuela the best. So let's talk a bit about what you sent to be the impact of this for Manuela. She was very shy, didn't want to be in the class. Now God had raised up. You're a pastor. She's also faithful at the local church. And you see these kind of things before where somebody who is just faithful, doing what God called them to do, and the Lord just supernaturally provides. So Pastor, speak a bit to what lessons can we learn from Manuela's story? And what does this mean to Manuela? I mean, from what you know her, what lesson can we learn? And what does it mean for her, you feel, as her pastor?
Yeah, as a pastor, I think that God is healing her through many kind of experiences, and being one of them. And as a counselor, I know uh, that God will sometimes expose us in a situation where we think that we are not prepared, we are not comfortable to be in those situations. And God will come and support us. And through that experience, that can be a paradigm shift in our life. So that's the way I have been dealing with her for many years now. Bringing her to the place that you can trust God and trust yourself. You can have that leadership. And of course, I decided to give her the financial administration of the church from day one, because at the beginning my wife will take care of that, but we decided not to be involved in the finances of the church. And it's a very quiet position that she has. She doesn't really have to lead meetings and things like that. And we encourage her also to join our prayer team, where God will use her also, but in a very limited kind of setting. But through this experience, I think it's a healing process too, where she can and be confident, more confident in God and in herself. So what I can say about that is that we have to trust God sometimes to lead us out of our zone of comfort, as we said in French. So we have to trust God, that God is able to support us, to lead us, to guide us through. And some of the challenges we had in the past, and God can use those experiences to get us free from those challenges, and so that we can really release the gift we have, and the vision of God we have in our life, so we can walk in our destiny. And I think when I spoke to her, she was like, "Oh, I'm going to represent North America. I need Patrice to talk to me. Otherwise, I won't do it." And I say, "Hey, Manuela, I'm supporting you." And she was like, "Do you think I should say yes?" I say, "Hey, say yes. You're getting 1,000, and minus 20%, of course, but you're getting something. And you'll be coached, and it's a good experience. You talk to people, and it's really good for your leadership, and it's gonna build your confidence, and also you're gonna talk about your project to many people. I think you should say yes." And I say, if I were you, I would have said yes to that.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Pastor, there are many people watching and listening to us, and they may be going through a situation. By the way, we're going to have to come back, because you are a counselor. You've written some book. By the way, tell us about your book before we go ahead. Tell us about your book and how they can access it.
Yeah, and I wrote a book on how to be restored in after having go through some experiences that wounded your soul. So I focus a lot on studying the wounds of the soul, the emotional problems, and that people can go through. But I am addressing it based on the Bible, not as psychologists or things like that, but based on the scriptures, based on the Bible. So then I wrote that book, Path to Freedom, because I think that once people are healed in their soul, then the spirit can be more free to listen to God, and so that they can walk in their destiny. So just a second, I'm gonna plug my computer just to make sure that.
That's why he's on his computer. Soul issues. Go ahead,
then,
Pastor.
yeah, so I wrote a book. The book is being now translated in English, and so pretty soon I will have the English version of it. I wrote it in French first, and so that's the the book we have now.
Access it. If somebody speaks French and they want to access it, we have a lot of French speakers who listen to us, particularly from Congo and from France or whatever. How did I access your book?
So they can order it through Amazon. The books with my name, if they tap my name, that's the only book I have now on Amazon. I'm finishing to write the second book on focus, the power of determination. So that's the next one coming. But this one, it's the only one I have. If they tap my name on Amazon, they can order the book. Or also, they can contact me, and if they write my name again, they will see my Facebook page, and to my Facebook page, they can write, and I can write back, and I make sure that they can get the book too.
Awesome. And what if they want somebody's watching or listening and they are in Ottawa or in that area, they want to come to your church service, so forth? Where do they go for more information about your church and what time the services are?
The church names, as we said, it's Cena, CENA. If they write our name in Ottawa, they will see us. And we are in Ottawa. We are located on MacArthur 260 MacArthur in Vanier. So people of Ottawa, they know Vanier neighborhood. So we are located there, and there's a big sign there, 260 MacArthur in Vanier. And now, because of COVID and the requirement from the province of Ontario, so we decided to split our service in two. So we have the first service on Sunday at 9 and the second service at 11, in order to comply with what the government is requesting from us. We are not allowed to use more than 30% of capacity. So during the week, we still have just one prayer service on Wednesday at 6:30. We have Bible study on Friday at 7 p.m. in French, and on Saturday at 10 a.m. in English only. So, but on Sunday we have bilingual services. We have bilingual services at 9 o'clock a.m. and at 11 o'clock a.m.
Awesome. That is incredible. Well, again, we're talking to Pastor Michaux, the senior pastor of Stena Church in Ontario, Canada. He has a competitor that will be with us at Nehemiah Week competing for North America. And we're talking about the impact of biblical entrepreneurship in Ottawa. Pastor, thank you so much for being here. Last question, as we wrap up here, many of people are listening from around the world, are watching, and they need a word of encouragement from you as they address the pandemic, as they address concerns, whatever issue they may be having. What advice would you give them? What word would you give them to help encourage them today as they go through what's going on out there, the uncertainty?
I think that's the what I can say is that life can be made of challenges, difficult situations that we can go through. But one of the things that can help us go through is hope. Hope being defined as the expectation of a good future with God, because we cannot have hope without having someone who can guarantee that hope. The hope we have, it's not in ourselves, but in God. So then in this time, many things has changed. We talking about the new normal that we have to cope with from now on. But we have to remember that if things have changed and life for some of us uh, has kind of changed too, with maybe loss of loved ones, or people were sick in their body, wounded emotionally because of the situation. Some of them had to redefine their life in terms of career, businesses. We have to remember that life can change, habit can change, but God, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's why we should have that hope. And talking to disciples, the Lord said, go around the world and make disciples of every nation. Teach them to observe what I taught you, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And he had something tremendous. He said, as for myself, I will be with you till the end of the world. So we have the promise that God will be with us. So, and because God is with us, we are entitled to have hope. If we had the right to be wounded by life, by situation, challenges, and the change, we also have the right to be healed in our soul and to have hope and to stay thankful and in attitude of worship and praise in our spirit, and expect God to touch us in our body, to touch our businesses, our churches, our families. So let us be encouraged that uh, our future can be brighter with Christ.
Wow. Good word. Thank you so much, Pastor. Let us be encouraged that our future can be bright with Christ if we, wow, we have the right for healing, for hope, and we know who the hope maker is. Again, I've been talking to Pastor Michaux from the senior pastor of Stand Church in in Ottawa, Canada. He has a competitor who will be competing with us at Nehemiah Week, and that's exactly 2 weeks from Saturday. And they'll be competing representing North America. Her name is Manuela. Her business is a daycare business that she's opening in Canada, and she'll be competing for who will be the international business plan competition winner from 2020. The winner last year was Yamil from Canada. You heard, I'm not from Canada, from Mexico. You heard Yamil talk with us last week, and Yamil hopes to pass that award to a Mexican, but we'll see. Not if Noella has anything to say about it. Pastor, thank you so much. Listen, audience, don't leave yet because I want to pray with you. But before I do, let me say this to you. And then there's a video that we're going to have you watch in a few minutes before we leave. If you've enjoyed this podcast, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with as many people as possible, so that they can learn about this pastor who's doing great work in Ottawa, Canada. And they can, if you know folks in Canada, in Ottawa, Canada, or in Quebec, just share it so that way they may know where to go and worship and where to be a part of a church that is life and growing. Also, if you do more about Pastor Michauxs' book, go to Amazon, and there you might find information about his book. In the meanwhile, if you want to know more about Nehemiah Project, go to our website, nehemiahproject.com, nehemiahproject.org, nehemiahproject.org, or nehemiahecommunity.com, nehemiahecommunity.com. And there you might be able to learn information about how we can provide you with training, with coaching, with access to capital, and have you be a part of the fastest growing Christian business community, whereby we can transform the world together. Don't forget, we want to see you at Nehemiah Week. Come support Manuela. Come and support Latin America. Come and support North America. Come and support Asia Pacific. Come and support Africa, as we all try to see who will represent, who will win the 2020 International Business Plan Competition Award. Most importantly, come and vote. for your favorite contender so that they might be able to win the people's choice. With that said, let me pray for you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that He's placed under your care. And may you store those talents in such a way that one day you may hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now God will make you ruler over much. God bless you. Pastor Michaux, thank you so much for your time, sir. Look forward to having you back. And looking forward to seeing you guys at Nehemiah Week. Please watch this video. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nehemiah Week is an annual event designed to equip entrepreneurs and leaders from around the world to inspire and to honor marketplace leaders for their accomplishments and what they're doing to model Christ in the marketplace.
God is doing incredible things at Nehemiah Week.
Ladies and gentlemen, God has called us to be a light for Him, to be an example for Him, to be a model for Him, so that as others see us, not hear us, but see us, they can see a model of Christ.
Yeah, each year at Nehemiah Week, we gather the nations.
Our vision is to transform the marketplace with the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, one entrepreneur at a time.
We have learned to do business in a godly way. I will actually spread this to our church as well.
Through the course of Nehemiah Week includes information around principles of biblical entrepreneurship, so really looking at biblical economics.
What we've learned this week is about training. Our Nehemiah project is about training and then coaching and then accessing capital.
Nehemiah gave me a godly vision. Really impacts the way that I see doing business.
Nehemiah Week not only gives birth to new ideas, it connects us with resources and relationships that makes them possible.
But what we want to do is not just affect here in the U.S. We want to take this curriculum all over the world.
Whatever it is, the question is, what impact will this have on others?
It's something that's going to change lives. So I'm ready to use whatever I have for the benefit of the kingdom of God.
I believe that the nations are going to shake because of this week. Biblical entrepreneurship takes a stand to say we are going to be witnesses for Jesus Christ in the marketplace.